Wednesday edition of What? Chaos. DJ Bean, Pete Blackburn. Pete, the Sharks are champions. The Oilers are probably sending their goalie to the AHL. Jonathan Huberdeau is not the happiest guy in the world right now. Miles Wood is out of control, but let us start with the 2023 game champions, San Jose Sharks.
The Sharks are fucking canceled, man.
Why?
That's my only takeaway. The Sharks are canceled because all you had to do was lose one more game and you immediately become one of the most interesting teams in the NHL. You set a record for the worst start in modern history for an NHL team, and you set up one of the best tank bowls, shitty 31 versus 32 matchups that we could ever envision in early November. And they fucking beat the Flyers.
I have good news for you. They still will play in a 31 versus 32 matchup because they suck that bad. They've got but 3 points on the season. They are still safely, comfortably in 32nd. But now, if they win this 31-32 matchup that I'm sure we'll continue to preview the bejesus out of the next 2 days, then suddenly they're tied with the Oilers and they push the Oilers into last.
That is the silver lining here is that the result, if they beat the Oilers on Thursday, it will tie them with the Oilers. Like, I think that's like the silver lining, but still getting your first win against the Oilers would be so much funnier, and it would be just like the ideal result for somebody who just likes the, how do you pronounce that word?
Schadenfreude?
Schadenfreude.
You know that my friend Luke Bonner taught me this. I'm not allowed to judge you for asking how to pronounce something. It just means that you've read it.
I've read it for sure.
Yeah,
and I
well
love
read.
that word, and I love that that act.
Why speak and hear when you can read?
That's right.
Bit of a bookworm over here.
But like the celebration and the memes and all the fun that would have been had if the Sharks' first win came against the Oilers would have been the biggest party that the first half of the NHL season has ever seen. And instead, you beat the fucking you beat the fucking Flyers, and who cares? That's such a boring result. The Flyers are bad. It just bums me out so bad that we can't go into Thursday with like the anticipation that would be their first win.
I do agree. It would have set up the Oilers and Sharks for a crazier matchup Thursday, but by and large, especially as it relates to the Oilers, like, ain't a damn thing changed. If you play the Sharks and lose to them, shit still has hit the fan. Like, I don't think we'll talk about how this game went for Philadelphia in a second, but like, I don't think if the Oilers lose to the Sharks on Thursday, they're like, hey, whatever, man. They're hot. They'll be like, fuck, we shouldn't have lost them. We have a quote graphic, by the way, from Pete's experience watching the game. There it is. That made the rounds. Connor Bedard on the show yesterday, if you didn't hear it, check it out. The quote of Connor Bedard saying, I remember crying for a week. That sucked. Regarding the Bruins beating his Canucks back.
That's
in the
right.
day.
I was crying. I'm still crying. Although you're right, Thursday's game still does have some juice in it. I was previously planning to dub it. I guess I can still dub it the Oil Shark Bowl.
Okay.
The Oil Shark Bowl is an awesome name, I believe. So much so that I went to Chat GPT and generated my first AI images. I think Sean has those. There it is. There's the Oil Shark Bowl. It is a shark coming out of a toilet full of oil.
So as you said oil shark before this lovely thing came on my screen in front of my face, I thought the Oil Sharks sounds like such like a hard team name.
Oh yeah.
That's like dope shit.
It is, right?
If
The
you're
Oil
like,
Sharks?
oh man, we got to go to Bakersfield and play the Oil Sharks.
That is there a better like combination of two teams? Like I'm trying to think. of
Oh,
other
that's a
two
good
teams.
question.
because,
That's
yes,
a great question.
Ah, fuck, man.
We'll leave that. We should leave that up to the Whatnuts to
Yeah.
find out what the best
team
combination
combination is.
of two NHL team names would
Whatnuts,
be.
tweet in and Instagram in, TikTok in your answers.
You're right,
on-
though. The Oil Sharks, like, not only are you dealing with a shark, which is terrifying to begin with, you're dealing with a shark that has survived oil in the water
I think-
and is coming out just covered in oil.
Any element.
It's got to be motor oil
plus
type oil, though,
shark.
and not like body oil or
No, it's not like
baby
vegetable oil.
Right.
No,
It's
like
significantly less terrifying.
No, like canola oil sharks aren't happening. I think that basically and I don't know if oil like qualifies as an element, but you know what I mean? Basically any sort of element plus sharks is fucking dope.
That's true.
Like the candy sharks.
Yeah, I still plan on using the image of the oil or the shark coming out of the toilet full of oil. But I also generated some images of how I felt about last night's result with the Sharks beating the Flyers.
So,
And it's a shark with a trophy just surrounded by angry people yelling at
Well, now,
it.
what was your prompt?
It was shark celebrating a win while mob of angry people yell at it.
Okay, I could see that. I'm finding that Chat GPT has like two ideas for sharks. It's either that one cartoon shark
Yeah.
or it's this very, very scary shark that I had cooking things last night. The Sharks did play a good game though. And like the Flyers had a million shots on goal, but like a lot of them were empty calories. Mackenzie Blackwood was awesome. I thought he made a sick save second, third period on a 2-on-1 on Farabee. And I was like, is this sustainable? No. Are they going to win a bunch of games? No. But like for a second, I had a little don't let the Sharks get hot.
I'll be honest with you. I didn't pay too close attention to that game. Like I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was monitoring it for sure. But I texted you this last night. Like it breaks my heart that I'm so invested in so many West Coast teams to start the season because like I just don't have the energy to pay attention to like four teams or 3 games at 10:30 p.m. But last night I was all over Ducks Penguins, which the Ducks winning streak came to an end last night against Penguins. They were blanked. Very unfortunate. Hate to see it. The Ducks are. I'm fully on like the Ducks bandwagon to start this year. So that was on one of my TVs, and then of course had to have the other game, which was it Devils Avalanche late last night. So I had those two running full time.
It feels to me like the East Coast games are kind of like the appetizer.
For
It definitely
sure.
did last night. Like I was watching Red Wings Rangers and watching Jonathan Quick just throw it back. Oh, that was a fun game. The Red Wings almost sort of kind of came back in that game, but all I could think about while I was watching that first game was like, get me to 1038, get me to ESPN Plus. I was making sure that my TVs were properly learned on the ESPN Plus. Didn't want any fucking surprises when I tried to see puck drop for that Sharks game.
Well, I'll tell you what. Get me to 10:30 p.m. on Thursday night, tomorrow night, because that is going to be the biggest game of the year. Sharks Oilers still has some juice in it, like you said. My question to you is, Jay Woodcroft definitely gets fired if they lose that game, right?
Still, yes, exactly. And that's why I say ain't a damn thing changed. Like, if they lose to the Sharks, they're still toast. And they kind of might be toast anyway. They waived Jack Campbell, which, as we're doing this show live, we're not going to know the results of the waiver process. But here's a little magic. He doesn't get claimed.
Right,
He's in the second year of a 5-year, $25 million contract. And there we knew that there had to be some reaction to the Vancouver game. If they were going to fire Jay Woodcroft, we would have heard about it by now. And the backup goalie for that game ends up being the one who's punished because Stu Skinner started that game. It was fucking
Terrible.
horrible.
Yeah.
I liked Stu Skinner, and I hope he becomes a thing, but like he just had a bad game. He's having a bad season. Jack Campbell has been having a bad tenure. I was, as an Oil man myself, in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
I was hoping for a little more run out of Campbell when Skinner was having some of his shaky moments, but they had to do some sort of reaction, and it's Campbell.
Right. I think that this is the precursor to, well, we tried something before firing the coach. Because I don't think you can go straight to firing the coach, especially with Woodcroft having some success over the past couple of years with that team. But yeah, this definitely has the makings of we tried something, and I feel bad for both of those guys. Like obviously, I feel bad for Jack Campbell. That just hasn't gotten off the ground in Edmonton for him, and I'm sure he's feeling terrible. I also feel bad for Stu Skinner though, because now he lost his kind of like partner in misery. Yeah, and now like the Oilers are for sure turning to Skinner to be like, it's all you, buddy. And he's been bad, but also the play in front of him has been bad. Like the goaltending has been the biggest problem. It hasn't been the only problem.
So you say that now it ends up kind of being the Skinner show. I don't know if it does, and I'm not going to acknowledge hypothetical fun trades that were put out there in the Twitter sphere, which are always fun. I like seeing those things and weighing in on like, would this make sense? Who would win this trade sort of thing. I think the Oilers are still going to try to do something in net. The word is they'll probably call up Calvin Pickard from the AHL, and
that ought to do it.
He's 31 years old. He was the Avalanche starting goalie once upon a time, 2016-17. He started 50 games. Wasn't very impressive.
Nope.
Has kind of been a backup and or AHL guy since. This is exactly what I was talking about the other day when I said the goalies are a rando journeyman, like 29 to 33-year-old goalie away from being the Vegas Golden Knights last year. So is Pickard the guy?
Your fucking guess is as good as mine. The beauty in the randomness of goaltending is that we don't know. Like if we were able to sit here and be like, that's the guy, it's not exciting when he becomes the guy.
So if
we are the first podcast in hockey people discussing him potentially being the guy, which is exciting for us.
I was discussing him being the guy before I knew that he was in the organization.
You didn't have a name to it though.
Didn't have a name for it, but I gave the hockey podcast listener the Chat GPT prompt,
right.
And it was generating image the last couple of days.
You're just like, give me a goalie who could potentially save the Oilers, and I don't care who it is. And Chat GPT was, how about Calvin Pickard?
I think it's Calvin Pickard until it's not Calvin Pickard. I will say, fucking sign Braden Holtby, or like call up Tuukka, or like do something like that. And I know that Holtby really kind of took a sharp downturn from being one of the great goalies in the league, and Tuukka is a retired person.
Yeah.
But like, do some shit like that. Just throw some fucking darts. Have the top of the roster keep playing well.
I have a name for you. I don't know if it would work or make sense, but like, how about Dan Vladar? Dan Vladar from Calgary.
Yeah.
Formerly a Boston Bruin great.
Yep.
Like $2 million in Calgary. Everybody probably wants to get the hell out of Calgary at this point.
Mm-hmm. Big boy.
Yeah, like he's been good in stretches over the course of his career. Never been more than really like the second guy in rotation. But what an opportunity for Dan Vladar.
What happens with Jack Campbell other than he gets sent to the AHL? Because as I said, he's in the second year of a 5-year, $25 million contract, average annual value of $5 million. Even if they trade him, even if they try to trade him and retain half, I think you probably have to staple a draft pick to that still, because do you want Jack Campbell for 4 years at $2.5 million right now if you're another team? I think that's more of like a, we'll take him on if you give us something.
Yeah, I think that's the case too. And I mean, what happens with Jack Campbell, I would imagine at some point he gets back to Edmonton, just because you can only bury $1.5 million on the cap in the AHL. So like they're going to be paying him regardless. So, I think this is a good opportunity for a reset. and maybe take a little bit of pressure off him, I think they're going to need him at some point.
I also think that he can return to being serviceable.
Right.
We hated that contract the second it was signed, but like, you know how goalies are. Like in a couple of years, maybe Jack Campbell is being talked about the way that we're glowingly talking about Calvin Picard.
That's right.
I'm just like, oh man, anybody could have had Jack Campbell, and he ends up being a stud. Maybe his time will come. It's obviously not right now for the Oilers, but they need to do something, and he ends up being the guy. I do want to get back to the Sharks, and I know that we were previewing Sharks and Oilers. How do you feel right now if you're the Philadelphia Flyers losing that game? What's Torts screaming to his players after that game?
Probably screaming like, you know, I don't know. Like, I think that he could say like process was there, results weren't. I don't think he's screaming at that team. That's not a good team. So like losing to the Sharks, yeah, tough look. You don't want to be the team that gives them their first win, but like I don't think that you're really like lighting the Flyers on fire today.
I think that they had a holy shit, we're about to lose to the Sharks third period though.
They did have a push, yeah. And they kind of, again, like it's one of those situations, not a good look, but you know, they made a push in the third period, came up short. It's embarrassing, but like I think there are going to be plenty more embarrassing moments for the Philadelphia Flyers this season.
They've lost 5 of 6 games, so you could ask the Flyers after that game, it was a tough loss, but what positives could be taken out of it? Like them being like, we rocked for a period is honestly better than a lot of what they've been doing recently. So times not so good in Philadelphia, times great in the Sharks. They're one of the hottest teams in the NHL right now, winning at an unprecedented pace for them, going into a monumental matchup against the Oilers. And I'll tell you what has been a monumental change to my life, Peter.
What's that?
Sucking down that Olipop.
Oh, yeah, brother.
It is a prebiotic soda that comes in amazing flavors. Yesterday, you and I were having a lemon lime off. It's all anybody could talk about in the hockey community. They said, look at those dueling boys go with their lemon limes. Are you down back to one Olipop a day?
One Olipop a day for me. That's just because I want to save the stash that we have here in the studio, not out of like I can only do one Olipop a day. I do regret I grabbed cream soda again today, but if I had grabbed the lemon lime, it would have matched my sweatshirt. So
yes,
that was
the
a
lemon
mistake
lime
on my part.
is very, very tasty. Sean sucked down a grape yesterday and just was absolutely raving about it. I think today is my day that I get into the strawberry vanilla.
Ooh,
I think I dip into
big day for Deej.
because let me tell you, a little peek behind the curtain. As this show has been getting off the ground, yesterday it dawned on me to apologize to Sean. Hey, Pete and I have kind of been living off of coffee and carbs the last couple of weeks as we've been getting this show going, and we've kind of forced that diet on you as a result. So I've been trying to settle back into things that I know make me feel good, make me regular, et cetera, and really, for the better part of a year now, that's what Olipop has been for me. When I'm going right and I'm feeling good, Olipop is in the mix because it's delicious, tastes amazing. It's low in sugar, as I said, under 5 grams. It has a vast variety of delicious flavors. You got the cream soda, you got the classic cola, you got grape, you got lemon lime, you got strawberry vanilla. What more could you possibly want? And really, it goes well with everything I eat. Last night I had a salad and a Olipop.
Look at you.
It was a very
beacon of health over here.
It was very, very nice.
I haven't gone to the gym in like a month, and I'm feeling terrible. I'm eating terrible, but I can at least feel good that I'm putting some Olipop in my body once a day.
I thought about doing the iPad ESPN Plus light bike at the gym yesterday, but instead I didn't do that, and I just watched the hockey, checked out Twitter, posted a few clips, got ready for the show. I want you to get ready for your life to change, and that's by using the code CHAOS for 20%
Look at him, he did
off
it.
your next Olipop order on drinkolipop.com. Olipop can also be found in over 22,000 stores across the country, including Walmart, Target, and Whole Foods. Another thing I wanted to hit with you, Peter, is that in watching all the games last night, we saw a little different broadcast from TNT because Chelios has moved from ESPN to TNT. It is no secret. We've not discussed this on the podcast, but if anybody follows us anywhere, we both rave about the TNT product.
How can you not?
ESPN
It's
product
so
good
fun.
too, but like the TNT product, amazing.
Yeah.
No,
I don't. Yeah. Well, I don't want to be mean to. There's one superior product for sure.
yeah, for sure. They do it differently.
Yes.
And the way that TNT does it is
TNT
more in line
is
with their
more our
basketball
vibe.
coverage. And
TNT is more our vibe. Clearly, like we want to have fun with and be a little goofy, not take ourselves so seriously. So
shout out Greg, Emily, Megan, everybody at ESPN. The TNT. Well, we're just talking about TNT right now.
That's right. Liam is my best friend. He's my father. So I am a nepo baby. Love my guy Liam McHugh. Biz, I love that guy to death. Just they have so much fun on that show, and you can tell. And it's exactly what we wanted when TNT got the rights. We were like, okay, if they can produce anything close to inside the NBA, it is going to be huge for hockey. And it has been. It was very jarring to see Chelios on that panel, just based off of like, wait, what the? Because I feel like I saw the news that he was moving over there this offseason, but I must have forgot it.
I don't think really was that. I didn't even see that. I knew that
I thought
ESPN
so.
that he was part of some changes at ESPN, so I knew that he was done there. I didn't know that he was going to get over there.
Saw him pop up on the panel last night, and immediately sent you a text. Was like, what the hell's going on here?
There was some buzz yesterday throughout the day of like Chelios coming over here, and I don't want to like. Maybe this will make certain people feel weird, but like I was so happy for Liam McHugh when he got put in this position at TNT because I mean he's been great everywhere he's been, but like this is TNT is with the supporting cast. I was like he's going to thrive there.
Yeah.
He's basically going to be kind of like the ringleader of this super fun group, and obviously he can do. He has every club in his bag.
Right.
He could do like the straight thing. He could do the more kind of like freewheeling thing. And with the group of players that he has, he just fucking runs shit over there. I wondered if Chelios going from ESPN, which is a little more of the kind of straightforward thing, to TNT, where it's kind of a pirate ship, would bring out more in him. And I thought he was good last night.
I thought he was okay. I think he has room to get better. And it probably will come with time. I mean, we have seen TNT really kind of chip away at freeing guys up. I mean, think back to what Gretzky was like on his first show on TNT. He was bad. Like he didn't bring anything to the table other than being Wayne Gretzky. And that was really the only club that they had in their bag with him. They were like, we got Wayne Gretzky. Now I think he's awesome on that panel.
Oh yeah,
and he's really good.
Biz will be like, my stomach hurts, and Gretzky will be like, I used to eat 400 boxes of pizza before games, and it was like, holy shit, you used to eat 400 boxes of pizza, but like it's fucking real,
right? And then you like call Biz a pussy, and so like it's clear like they all have fun. I think Chelios will kind of open himself up to that. It was a little rough at points last night, but I mean, you're right though on the Liam front, where at NBC it was more kind of like. I guess both jobs for Liam have been like he's the babysitter and he has to like keep things on the rails. But at NBC, he was kind of it wasn't the fun babysitter job that it is at TNT. Like, and Liam has the personality to do both things, which is mix it up with these goofballs, but also be the consummate professional who gets the job done and sticks them, to the rundown that they have. And he's the best at it. I love that guy.
Yeah, and I like as whatever we do as a broadcaster and things like that. Like I like will geek out over certain people who do certain things well. Like I love I know nothing about play-by-play, but I love talking to play-by-play guys about other play-by-play guys. Like you get Jack Edwards going on. Why can't I think of the ESPN broadcaster?
Which one?
There's a million. Play-by-play does Mike Tirico.
Oh, Mike Tirico.
Like,
Oh, that's right.
You get like Jack
with
Edwards going on
Yeah.
Mike Tirico, and he's like, I don't understand how he does it. Like all these certain things. Like I watch Liam McHugh that way because he's dropped into a few different things. And he just like conquers them all. I'm a big MLS guy, so I watch him on Apple TV. and he's fucking great there too. But
I think we both of us at this point, we consider ourselves fans more than media. But like being in media, I think you get a greater appreciation of people who do it like a little bit differently, a little bit more freely, a little bit more naturally. And, we pick up on that stuff. Whereas like, I think that maybe the average fan or viewer is just like, oh, this person's good at their job and doesn't necessarily recognize like the small things. But like, it is really impressive what TNT has been able to do in a short amount of time, just kind of like maximizing their product.
You could tell from like the beginning of their second season, and they got better over the course of the first season. But honestly, the reaction to their first couple of weeks, I remember their first season, kind of the reaction to like this show so far, where like people that think like me and like fun shit were like, oh man, like this is like a little different than the type of stuff I saw. And that's honestly like all you want in the beginning. Just like the affirmation of like, it's a little different, but it seems genuine.
You like that they're taking swings. Like it may they may not nail it every single time, may lead to some awkward moments, but they're taking swings and they're going to get better at doing it. So,
not on this show so far though. That's where I guess the comparisons end. We've had nothing but grand slams.
That's true. But before we leave the broadcasting topic, I got to mention I was watching the Penguins last night, and God, it's so embarrassing. NESN, like just kind of reaching out and delivering the same graphics the Penguins broadcast. It's just like it drives me crazy. Just like the Fenway Sports Group, how they're kind of taking away character from like. I feel like every team broadcast should have its own individual personality.
I agree.
And like characteristics to it. And like that's my big problem with Fenway Sports Group from a bigger picture perspective too, is that like it's becoming sort of like a chain restaurant where like they're diversifying their portfolio too much, where it's like the teams that they own are more assets than they are like they're more than they're proud of owning that team,
Far be it from LeBron James to have a chain restaurant
That's
vibe
true.
to him.
That's true.
I was going to make reference to that chain restaurant, but I would happily get into financial bed with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Have you ever had Blaze Pizza?
I have not, no.
Sean?
I'm pretty sure I have. Yes, I definitely have.
It's good.
It is amazing.
It's like a high-end, have you ever had like a Celeste pizza?
Yes.
It's like a high-end Celeste pizza
rocks, yeah.
It's like if like Celeste pizza were like $16.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, just NESN's using the same broadcast packages for the Bruins games and the Penguins games. And if you're in the dark, Fenway Sports Group owns the Penguins and owns NESN, which is the New England Sports Network. Yeah, it's annoying. And like part of me wonders if NESN or if the Fenway Sports Group bought the Penguins specifically just so they wouldn't have to swap out the Bruins colors on their NESN package and just slap it on the Penguins games because they have the same color scheme. But I digress. That's enough.
Thanks, LeBron.
Enough trashing. Yeah, right.
By the way, LeBron part of that, if anybody's confused. Jonathan Huberdeau benched for the third period last night in the Flames' comeback victory over the Predators. Shout out Ryan O'Reilly. Played in that game. Is shit hitting the fan for the Flames already? What do they do with Huberdeau, who is in year 1 of an 8-year contract with a $10.5 million cap hit? If you don't remember, he was the centerpiece, he and Mackenzie Weegar, of the Matthew Tkachuk trade, and signs this big extension. We all at the time were like, good trade for the Flames.
Yeah.
Did that, like, got through that as best as they could. He has a bad first year, 55 points after having 115 points in his final year in Florida. Has a bad first year, but you could say whatever. Didn't like the coach. He's in it for the long haul here, and they're benching him however many weeks into the season.
Yeah, for the entire third period. In a game that they won, by the way, which maybe
the thing, like,
maybe the worst it worked.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe the worst part of it is that it worked. Yeah, on the topic of like last year, I'm willing to excuse it just because the vibes were so bad in Calgary last year that literally everybody wanted out this offseason. So I think that we can kind of throw that one away. The fact that it's still not working and it's year one and they're tied into him and Nazem Kadri for $17.5 million through 2029.
And Kadri has sucked too.
Yeah, and it's just not working in Calgary. And like you're saying, is shit hitting the fan already? I wouldn't even use the word already. It's just been hitting the fan. It remains on the fan because it was there all year last year. And like we mentioned it last week, Noah Hannafin cut off his contract extension talks with the Flames just because he wants to see the direction of this franchise, where they're headed, which indicates, and I think this talk started after they lost the Heritage Classic game, but they
lost to the Oilers. Ew.
Right. I know you have 50. You are responsible for 50% of the Oilers wins this season, which is tough. Maybe the worst thing that you could say about an NHL franchise right now. But yeah, like it does seem like the Flames are heading towards blowing it up. But the thing is, I don't even know what that looks like because they have nice pieces there. Like their roster isn't bad. We're only a couple years removed from this team being a lot of people's Stanley Cup picks, and they didn't change a whole lot. Yeah, well, I guess you lose Gaudreau, you lose Tkachuk, but we were talking about at the beginning of last year, like the Tkachuk trade seemed like a win for them because they got a great player in return. And they got a defenseman when they needed the help.
Yeah.
So like this roster should be way better. Should be delivering a way better result, but it's just not. It's not working. Guys want out. But I don't know what it looks like to blow that team up when you have $17.5 million tied up in two players who are going to be stuck there through like their mid to late 30s.
Worth noting that Huberdeau has a no move for the first 6 years of the contract. I don't imagine that could possibly be an issue. I think the issue with trading him, I think he would happily waive that. I think the issue would be who the fuck takes him on at $10.5 million? Nobody has cap space.
And if you're Calgary, do you want to pay $5 million or whatever it is for the next 7, 8 years? Just to get him off your roster.
So if I'm Calgary and I'm trading him, I'm starting talks with teams as saying we'll eat $2 million. You could have Huberdeau for the next 7.5 years at 8.5.
$2 million for the next like 7 years is still really shitty.
Awful, but he's got to be fucking miserable. We knew that he was miserable last year. And again, you could say that was the team, that was the coach.
Problem,
Sutter, he's gone. Okay, you got a new guy. What's the fucking excuse now? And sometimes it just doesn't fucking work. We see a lot of times in other sports, guys will go sign a big contract, and after a year, trade him somewhere else. It ends up working out there, but God, what are you giving up if you're another team to take that on?
If Calgary does decide that they are going to blow it up, they become a really interesting seller because, again, they have players that will be wanted, and they could help a lot of teams that need help this season if they start selling off pieces. I mean, you have Elias Lindholm, who was talked about over the summer. He's still a pending UFA. Andrew Mangiapane has a year left after this one.
He's like, somebody, I'm going to cross-check somebody in the head.
And then on the back end, Noah Hannafin, Chris Tanev, and Nikita Zadorov, all pending UFAs heading into this summer. And I mean, even if you wanted to discuss the possibility of trading Rasmus Andersson, like a lot of players that could be wanted. And then, I mean, even I don't know how palatable it would be to help the Oilers, but like the Oilers would definitely be interested in some of those guys.
You know what? My most fun and sad fun fact about this Flames team is they're 4-7-1, sixth in their division, and the only reason they're just sixth in their division is who else plays in their division?
The Edmonton Oilers.
And
The San Jose Sharks.
The San Jose Sharks. So the only reason they're only in 6th is because
Saved by the bowl.
What's that?
Saved by the bowl.
Exactly. The only reason they're only in 6th in their division is because the 2 worst teams in the league are in their division.
I mean, that brings
one
up
of whom has beaten them.
That brings up a good point too. That like the Flames and the Flames fans. Well, I guess not the Flames fans because they're still dealing with it. But like the Flames have to feel very fortunate that. Like almost every other team in Canada sucks ass as badly as they do right now because you've got the Oilers, you've got the Senators, you've got the Maple Leafs.
Bite your tongue? No.
I mean, the
They're
Maple Leafs
galvanized.
are quote unquote galvanized, but there has been a whole lot of anger and animosity towards Canadian teams to start the season that like the Flames kind of aren't even registering on a lot of people's national radar because they're just not as interesting as those other teams and how badly they've been fucking up.
Well, unfortunately, they become interesting when you see $10.5 million hanging his head
That's true.
on the bench. Like I feel like the only attention they've gotten the last couple of years has been like honestly
Right. I mean, that's a good point that like they won the game last night, but at what cost?
Yeah.
Because now we're fucking talking about the Flames and how much they suck after a game in which they won.
I mean, I'm sneaking that game into this show's rundown without that, probably just to be like, hey, Ryan O'Reilly played a game last night.
Yeah.
Shout out to him. But otherwise,
this is a Ryan O'Reilly podcast.
It is a Ryan O'Reilly podcast. We're going to get him on at some point, and it's going to be magic. By the way, we have an awesome guest tomorrow. You're going to listen anyway, but one of the early season great stories is going to be on the show tomorrow.
That's right. On one of my favorite teams to start this season. So.
That's right. One of someone who is actually big in our season preview.
True, yeah.
Was called out by name. Tonight, Pete, we find out if the Leafs are indeed galvanized. This is their first game post being galvanized. They host the Ottawa Senators in a matchup of, I guess for the Senators, it kind of sucks because they're still going to hear booing because like Leafs fans will boo their team anyway, so they can't escape it. But tonight we begin the process of post-galvanization.
This is like the toilet bowl before the toilet bowl. I'm very interested to see because I mean, you know that no matter what happens in this game, Leafs versus Senators, there's going to be like an overreaction
discourse.
Yeah, there's going to be overreaction discourse coming out, so it's going to be chef's kiss. I feel bad for Brady Tkachuk. Although we didn't mention this on the Brady Tkachuk thing, and I believe Elliot Friedman brought it up, which he was right on the money. Like, great move. We all said that we loved Brady Tkachuk coming, stepping in front of the microphone and being like, yo, shut the fuck up, stop booing us, we're trying our best. Elliot Friedman said, like, that was a great move by him because it takes the heat off of DJ Smith. Because if he didn't do that, DJ Smith would have been absolutely torched after that game. And like DJ Smith is going to bear the brunt of all the Senators' struggles, for better or for worse, whether you think that's the right discourse around their struggles. But great move by Brady Tkachuk. I'm sure DJ Smith appreciated it.
Well, we'll have our eyes on that. And you've got your eyes on the Devils, Pete, because you're feeling things aren't so good without Jack Hughes.
That's right. Who would have thought?
This is the social clip from
the New Jersey Devils. Worse without Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier. Both didn't play last night.
That's bait.
That's bait?
That is bait.
The Devils, though, like, got to talk about it. They played the Avs last night, lost. What was the final score of that game, Sean? Like 5-3, 6-3, something like that. But the Devils made it a game because Ross Colton decided to fly off the handle and get himself ejected.
6-3 final score.
6-3 with an empty netter. Yeah.
Gross.
So Ross Colton, by the way, just one of the most interesting 5-minute spans that I've seen from any NHL player so far this season. Scores a goal to give his team the lead, boards Luke Hughes a few minutes later in a play which, I mean, we're not talking about hits. It's not a hit talking podcast, but like
the only hits we talk about are the podcast charts.
That's right.
Where we are.
And Tate McRae, number one stream song in the world.
We'll
right
talk
now.
about that in a second.
Tate McRae. Luke Hughes play with a little bit more effort, but also a bad hit by Ross Colton. Then Ross Colton turns around, cross-checks Timo Meier in the face and gets himself thrown out of the game. Just a bizarre sequence of events for Colton. But the Devils did not look good against the Avs. I know the Avs are a good team, but it's a continuation of a problematic start for the Devils. And I know they're without Hughes, know they're without Hischier, and you're going to struggle without two of your best players in the lineup, especially down the middle. But man, they are 24th in the league in scoring and defense, both in goals for, goals allowed. Their goaltending is, I believe, 27th. Like, it just, for a team that came into the season with a full head of steam, sky high expectations, Jack Hughes starting off looking like a true legitimate Hart candidate, which I think that he's capable of being that player. This start is concerning just with the lack of production at 5-on-5.
So are they like an Oilers to you where you take advantage of that they're in a bad way right now if you're a gambling person? Or do you think like...
I mean, they're going to snap out of it at some point. Like, their expected results are much better than what they're getting. But while they're banged up, while they're without Hughes, and while they're like complete power play merchants in terms of their offense, you can find good value in betting against the New Jersey Devils until they snap out of it. Like, it's just, it hasn't nearly been good enough. Last night they didn't look good at all. Like, I know the scoreline was close at several points, but again, they had 7 minutes of power play because of Ross Colton just being a fucking idiot in the second period. So without that, they could have gotten embarrassed against Colorado, and just a game in which they kind of needed to show up, especially without Hughes and Hischier.
If you haven't seen or heard the Connor Bedard interview, Connor Bedard and Kevin Korchinski, it's on our YouTube. It's also, if you're listening on the podcast, it's in the Tuesday, November 7th episode. Those guys were great. We had a blast, and we got a bunch of clips on social or whatever. Please, 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 if you haven't, subscribe to the YouTube. Subscribe wherever you would get podcasts anyway, but we're trying to get those YouTube numbers fat. That helps us a lot. 3 stars. I want to give Ryan O'Reilly a shout out. He bought a kid a guitar one time. People forget that. Anthony Duclair, I need to declare that Duclair looks so hot right now. Like hot. He did a intermission interview, and he's got the dreads, but he's got like an undercut thing going on right now. He looks so good right now, and is playing well, but
it helps
he looks amazing.
It helps that he's playing on the San Jose Sharks. Bad team, good uniforms. People hated on the Sharks with their rebrand a couple of, what was that, before last season with the all teal. I had my doubts about it, and I still think that the Sharks uniforms are best when they incorporate the silver or the gray, and I would like to see them do that at some point. But these Sharks uniforms are really good and way better than the ones that they were wearing for a long time.
I meant to say, by the way, I bet on the Sharks to win. I had the Sharks winning last night. I did a same game parlay where initially I did Sharks money line and Anthony Duclair to score, and then I did the Breaking Bad Twins thing where the guy's about to kill Hank, and he says, "No, muy fácil," meaning like too easy. And I switched Duclair to Sturm, so it didn't hit.
Yeah,
but
way to
still,
go.
my heart was in the right place. That's how I gamble. Like, I was kind of almost right, and I lost the bet.
That's
but I
betting
did have
advice
the
from
Sharks
Deej.
winning that game. I did have the Sharks winning that game, and they did. I have them losing tomorrow to the Oilers, but that's another conversation for another time. I also want to give a star to Tate McRae. I'm all in. And we learned a lot in a short amount of time. There's our queen about this person, Canadian pop star, has a song called Greedy. I remember when Greedy came out, there was talk about how she...
Not to be confused with Gritty.
No.
Who got knocked out by Sharky last night.
Sharky
in a disgusting
fucked
display.
up Gritty.
A disgusting display. The Sharks should have lost that game immediately once Sharky sucker punched Gritty. So I'm going to file protest to the NHL. Sharks looking for their first win tomorrow against the Oilers.
You seeing this Department of Player Safety?
That's right.
We
don't talk about hits except for that one.
I watched we watched the music video that Tate McRae did where she's on a Zamboni that people were talking about back in the day. And that song, Greedy, has just been stuck in my head. And I ain't the only one because it's tearing up the charts on Spotify.
Number 1 on Spotify. It's beaten Taylor Swift.
Crazy. We still, for real, might have Tate McRae on the show. She's a social media superstar too, has like a bajillion followers. This is a great ambassador for the game. And I'm just crazy about that song of hers.
If she comes on this podcast, I can't wait to ask her, like, hey, are you ready to get embedded with the NHL and have them call you for every single thing that they want to do? Because once the NHL finds a celebrity that they love,
she's already too cool.
Yeah, but she also like seemingly loves hockey. So she might just do it to be like...
What gave it away? Is it the fact that
literally
she can't stop wearing hockey equipment? I love that.
She's also a Jersey head. She loves jerseys.
Jersey Shore?
Yeah,
she's a Jersey Shore fan?
That's right. No, she's a big Jersey. She might be the only person in hockey with a better jersey collection than us.
I wonder if I bet like every team has given her a customized jersey.
Yeah, I think as she's doing like a tour, and like every stop along the way, she gets a jersey from that market.
Trivia question. Who did that while opening for Taylor Swift on the
Camilla Cabello.
Camilla Cabello wore a football jersey of every stadium in which she played.
I hate that. Pandering.
Other trivia question. She was the second of 3 on that bill. Who was the first opener?
Charlie XCX.
Charlie XCX.
You're asking me these questions like I wasn't there having the best time of my life.
You could have forgotten. I mean, that was a great show. Any more? Oh man, I ended up having 3 stars for the 3 stars. That was
what a loser.
Never the plan. I always wanted to be different numbers. Do you have any?
I do. Matt Tompkins won a game for the Tampa Bay Lightning last night. 29-year-old goaltender, 4,154 days after he was selected in the 7th round of the NHL draft in 2012. Wow. I love those kinds of stories where it just takes a guy forever to get to the NHL and kind of like start chipping away.
It gives us hope.
That's right. It could be us.
It's not about how fast you get there.
tuned.
It's not about what's waiting on the other side.
Stay tuned for next week's segment in which we try to make the NHL.
Yes, exactly.
I also want to give a shout out to Sean. Second time I'm naming him as one of my stars.
Why?
That's right, because he's officially a resident of Boston now.
Hey,
he moved into his apartment yesterday.
Yes.
It's just like I keep bringing up to DJ like how horrible your life must be for like the last 2 weeks.
It fucking sucks.
You met us and have to do a bunch of shit. Yeah.
Live with DJ for a couple days. You're driving back to Buffalo like every 2 days, every weekend. You've been removed from your cat for like a month at this point.
The worst part of all.
So
of this, for sure.
I gotta say, I'm gonna give myself a star. Sean, I was a good host, right?
A terrific host.
I was like a really good
yes,
host.
very comfortable couch, had waters laid out for me, everything.
Yeah, I did some
terrific.
I was like, okay, if I'm arriving at this person's place that I've only known for a little bit, but they seem nice, what am I expecting there to be? And I was like, what amenities do I have within reach?
I was expecting a pillow and a blanket. That's all I needed. You went above and beyond.
did you
You're
sleep on the
my
couch?
star. You're my star.
Wow.
Yes, I did.
You're a couch surfer?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
How
I
was
was
this
comfortable.
couch?
It was comfortable.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was jealous though. Like when we were like show planning this week, I was sending texts to DJ, and DJ was like, "Yeah, me and Sean already discussed that. We're watching the game together right now." And I was like, "What the fuck? Damn it! I had such bad FOMO."
There was a lot of good bonding there. I also lightly felt bad that I do have an extra bedroom that is that I use as a musical playground. It's the coolest room in the world. I got pianos and guitars and everything. It's also like the cleanest room I have.
My favorite part is
no place to sleep though.
My favorite part is that you've had that apartment for a while, and I think for a while that extra bedroom was open and you were undecided what you were gonna do with it. And then at some point you're like, when the fuck am I ever gonna have guests? I'll just make this my playroom and my music room.
Oh no! I always had like music stuff in there, but it might have taken me a little while.
But
to
did you fully commit to it? Yeah.
To like hey, like I got something really. I also sometimes make it like a Thursday night football room. I'll just like toss a TV in there if I have any stuff that I need to do work wise. It's a fun little room. Sorry you couldn't go in it, Sean. It's just you're not a guitar or
I'm
a
not,
piano. Listen to the DNVR
Oh, that's
show,
right.
by the way, the Avalanche show. They have Joe Sakic and Peter Forsberg today.
Yeah.
If you don't know who they are, boy, they had really cool careers playing hockey in the NHL, actually.
Yes, and Joe Sakic famously still relevant in today's NHL.
Why? What does he do?
He has a job.
Does he podcast?
Yeah, he's a podcaster.
Whoa.
He's got a job. Yeah, check that out on the DNVR feed. They've got Sakic and Forsberg. Only 3 games tonight, but 2 of which I'm very interested in. We already talked about the Tank Bowl before the Tank Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That one's going to be for sure on the radar. And then the Kings versus Golden Knights should be a good game too.
Yes.
Because those 2 teams, I think, are 2 of the better in the Western Conference. Obviously, the Golden Knights have been awesome to start the season. Still hoping to see a little bit more from the Kings. But those 2, and I don't know. No, I'm guessing Panthers Capitals is the national game in the United States tonight before that one. But that's the LA Kings and Golden Knights is the late game. And definitely tune into Senators versus Maple Leafs because we're going to be talking about that tomorrow as we preview the main event.
If you haven't smashed subscribe wherever you're listening, do it. Give us the 5 stars. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Instagram. Share those reels. You are sharing them at an amazing rate. We're very happy about that. Keep this thing going.
We got over 1,000 subscribers on YouTube yesterday. Keep inflating those numbers. We want the YouTube subs. So if you're not subscribed on YouTube yet, go do that. And then podcast feeds. Also, we had a little bit of a hang up yesterday on Spotify. It was Spotify's fault that the episode didn't get up until later. We're gonna make sure that those we're gonna like fight Spotify and make sure that those get up a little bit earlier. So yeah, subscribe there as well, and wherever you can, just hit all the buttons.
Yeah, we will be back tomorrow with another very special NHL superstar guest. We are not slowing down. It's What Chaos. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.